Hi, this is Stacia, and I wanted to show another game that I played just today. This is a standard game that I played on chess.com, and so I played against an opponent rated about 1450 named Srajen, Sragen, and it was a Queen's Gambit Accepted. I'm not going to go over the whole game, just the critical points, well, kind of the whole game. But so one thing I like to do with every game, and especially games like this where I just get demolished, um, I like to have some takeaways. And I reviewed this already and found three major lessons to learn from this game. Okay, so I'm going to share those with you. So this was a Queen's Gambit Accepted. This is basically the main line. And I could play e4 here, um, but I like to play the move e3. This is considered the old variation. And to be honest, the reason I play this is sometimes black will try to chase this pawn, and there's this fun little trap that this happens a lot in blitz games especially. And you have queen f3, and this black's in trouble here. They're going to lose a knight because the only move is actually this here, and you take. And you get something like this, and you're just a piece up. So, okay, you shouldn't play for tricks, but I like e3 because it's solid also, so it's not so bad. All right, well, black responded with a good test, which is the move e5. Not the first time I've seen this. I see this quite a lot. And I already knew that the correct move here is bishop takes c4. So I played it pretty quickly. And my opponent went ahead and took the d pawn. Now here is the first mistake. So in this position, what would you play as white? And if you want to pause your video to figure that out, go ahead and do that now. Okay, so in the game, I played the move queen takes. The point being, we're going to get a queenless middle game now, because if black fails to take, I'm going to rob them of their castling rights. And if they play something like knight c6, then the knight may go back here, and black will just be in a weird position, I guess. So that's why I've been playing this move, but it turns out this is incorrect. It's just not accurate at all. And the correct move is e takes d4. Looks like the move queen b3 is also playable, so if you said that, that's fine. Just targeting the f2 square, it looks like. I'm actually curious what black can do. I mean, I assume they defend that weak point. Yeah, they basically can just bring their queen up. So queen e7 is fine here, just defending the square. All right, so the correct move though is e takes d4. So the reason that queen takes is worse, and I'm speculating, but let me know if you agree with me. I think the reason this is worse is because, or why is it doing that? Is that after queen takes and pawn takes, which happened in the game, I now have an isolated queen's pawn with no queen behind it, and we're closer to an endgame. Some people would call this an endgame. And the thing about an isolated queen's pawn is it can be a very strong thing, especially if it's a pass pawn, which it's actually not in this position. But the more pieces that are traded off, the weaker this pawn gets, and it just becomes a liability. So by playing queen takes d4, I was already shooting myself in the foot, playing an isolated queen's pawn position with queens off the board. It's just incorrect. All right, so for that reason, you should play e takes. All right, so we'll continue to lesson number 2. So you'll see I get in trouble right away. Um, yeah, I played the move bishop e3 here, which is fine. Um, but black has knight b4, and I'm already slightly worse here. Um, as you can see, the knight wants to come to the c2 square and fork my king and rook. So white has to be pretty precise now to stop this. This is pretty, I mean, this is a common plan. Black's going to want to play bishop f5, and then both the c2 and d3 squares get very weak, and you have to be really careful. But I wasn't really careful enough. What I almost always play in these positions is the move knight a3, but this isn't most precise. It actually turns out that bishop e3 would be a little better. I think because then my bishop isn't just hanging there on c4, and yes, it still defends the critical c2 square. Okay, it does allow the check on d3, which I think is the main reason I didn't play it, but in hindsight, the check on d3 would have been better than what I ended up going through here, so you'll see soon. Okay, so sure enough, bishop f5. I thought that was pretty strong. It renews the threat on c2, and it makes d3 stronger as well. So here I played rook c1, and he came in. And this is a tricky move. The bishop isn't threatening anything specific by coming here. But of course, if I were to take, or maybe not of course, but if I were to take here, then I'm in big trouble because he's going to just win the exchange outright here. And yeah, I think I'm pretty much lost if that happens. Close to lost already. All right, so here I missed a critical move, and it's the move knight b5. So lesson number 2 is that often when black is doing this plan, and this can happen when you're black, white does similar plans just in reverse. But if they play this plan of knight b5, bishop f5, and target these weak squares, and you do end up defending with knight a3, you can also often bring your knight to b5 and make your own threats. And in fact, this is the only way to continue this. Although the computer says after king d8, black's still significantly better, like a half pawn better. But still, this was my best try. Also, don't forget, if the knight comes to c3, you still have knight b5. So just something to keep in mind. So that was lesson number 2. Lesson number 1 was don't give up your queens in an isolated queen's pawn position. Lesson number 2 is that in this plan, watch to counterattack with knight b5 because it might be your only good option. All right, so let's go through. Yeah, so I developed my piece. I thought I actually was thinking here that I might be okay as long as my development is better than his. I thought maybe I'll be all right. And some opportunities would come up, but he played bishop takes c4, which is the best move here. And I cannot take with the knight because if I do, he has the move knight d3 check. So once again, we have this fork. So I have to take with the rook here, which is what I did. So rook takes c4. But I missed something here, and this is the 3rd lesson. All right, so Yeah, if you were black, what would you play here? Knight d3 check is quite strong. It unleashes a discovery on my knight, which isn't so bad yet. It's just threatening to double my pawns, which actually does create a pass. Well, almost creates a pass C pawn. I do have this guy still. Um, so that wouldn't be so bad, except for the fact that black can now take on b2 with tempo. So hitting my rook, and this also eliminated the defender of my a3 knight. So do you see what's going on? So I was really focused on the fact that I had to move my rook and that this pawn was hanging, and I played this. And this is a huge blunder because bishop takes a3, and black is up a piece, and I have a weak pawn, and my king is awkwardly placed. I can't get my rook out. This is just pretty much losing. All right, so the only move in this position that holds things together is rook c3. And the reason being, it moves the rook out of danger and defends the knight. Now black can actually play like knight a4 and harass me a bit. But this is still a better continuation. Yeah, actually says black should just take now. But this is still worse. This is playable, I guess, but, you know, white's definitely worse because of the isolated pawn mostly. Alrighty then. So those were the 3 lessons. Well, and actually, so I read in a book something that I liked very much. And it said, it's not, and this is by Martin Wettischnick in the Chess Tactics from Scratch book. But he basically said that, you know, it's not good enough to find your biggest mistake in a game and just know what it is. You have to figure out what is the reason that you missed it. So what I would do in this situation, and I'll go back to that position. So why did I miss the fact that I was going to lose my knight? And so really it comes down to the fact that since there was so much pressure on these squares and checks and stuff, I failed to look at my opponent's pieces that hadn't developed and see and just take a look at them and see what are they doing here, what are they likely to do. I think had I kept in mind they're going to develop their dark square bishop, which okay, it makes sense that eventually they would, I would have seen the fact that it was x-raying my knight. And the other thing I missed was that after this nice little combination, I didn't just lose a pawn here, I lost the defender to the knight. So another thing I want to do in the future is I want to see when pawns are taken or even when pieces are taken, I want to look at what they're defending. So these are questions I should ask. And where are my opponent's pieces likely to develop? Or what are they x-raying immediately? And also when pieces are taken or about to be taken, what are they defending? So what else in my position is going to be loose as a result? So I failed to see this, and for that reason, I missed the move rook c3, which would have held things together. I would have lost a piece at least. All right, so I will show the rest of the game. After my knight was taken, I actually do like this move a bit. It's the second best move in the position. Bishop c1, just pinning the knight to the bishop, and I thought maybe I could get something out of this. He played the move b5, which, all right, so his idea is b4 to defend the bishop. But right here, I missed the move rook c2, attacking the pin piece. So I'm still worse after this too, but because after this, I may have even seen this in the game, actually. He does have knight c4. So with knight c4, he's actually defending this now. So it doesn't work so good. All right, well, but I had to try to make some complications. And here I am doing this a move too late. Yeah, and here I tried to figure out if there was a tactic here, but there really wasn't. I just pretty much got to take the rook. Of course, you don't want to trade pieces when you're down a material. Not to mention my other rook's terrible. So the computer says black is up 4 points of material now, which is basically my knight plus a pawn just for having a bad position. Okay, and yeah, this is painful. I was just hoping my opponent would blunder, basically, and trying to keep it together the best I could. So like here, I didn't allow the trade, but again, the computer wants to trade. So that's how bad my position is. I attacked the undefended bishop instead, but it's really easy to defend after this check. My king is uncomfortable on g4. And I don't have any way to exploit this pin on the knight. And things just get, so, you know, I'm playing for cheapos. I'll do whatever I can. I don't even know if that would work. I was just trying to make pressure. All right, so yeah, and here I finally trade bishops. I think I was under 4 minutes here. And yeah, after this nice little check, I just resigned. So not my best game, but I do think it's best to just not get emotional about losses. Just be logical about it and say to yourself, you know, what can I learn from this game? And so I shared with you the 3 lessons that I'm going to take with me. And if you have any other advice for me, I'm definitely open to that. I would definitely like to hear that, especially from you stronger players that see things that I would probably never see. And that's all. So thanks so much for watching. Bye.